We are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret society, opposed to secret oaths, opposed to secret proceedings, secret proceedings. No official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
Welcome to Conspiracy Corner Podcast, everyone. This is Abe, your host. It is 5:52 a.m. The date is August the 10th. Just got off work. I went in early tonight, 9 to 5, third shift. Figured I'd pick up an extra day of work. We've been having to get a lot of work done on the cars, so been doing the overtime last week and this week. Got 6 days, so hopefully a good amount of money will come in. Could build that bank account back up. Supposed to get a stimulus check is what I heard, but then now I'm hearing we're not. So I'm sure the demon rats, the Democrats, are putting all sorts of weird stuff in that bill. You guys know how it goes. As far as updates, though, I've just been, honestly, just working and making podcasts every day. You guys hear them, so that's about it for an update. We'll get on with the show. Alright, as you can tell by the amazing news music that I put out there for you all, this is a recent news story, hence why I'm covering it, and not really, I try to put out like recent dark stuff that I think is important for the time, and then I try to put out fun paranormal, ufology, stuff like that, to kind of give you guys a break. Now, I don't think this will take up a full episode, so if we have time, there's good news for the people who like the lighter stuff. You're welcome to skip ahead to, we'll probably have time for a paranormal ghost story at the end. But with the world how it is right now, it's so crazy that I can't even keep up with it sometimes, and I don't know. I just felt like this was an important story to share and get out there to the people. Now, a lot of people think that this Dr. Fouchee is a good guy, an American hero, and I'm sure if the enemy wins, the history books will say that this guy saved the planet. You know, him and Bill Gates and Klaus Schwab and all these other people. But this is a short little article I found from RT. Now, if you are queasy or squeamish in any way, if you're a new listener, if you're squeamish. If you're an old listener, you already know. We cover the macabre and everything else. I've had episodes. I had a whole series on torture devices, so I've made several serial killer episodes. That's just, I'm kind of that type of person. Now, you can judge me and say I'm effed up, but you know everyone slows down to look at a car wreck. You know it. You know. I don't know about you guys, but America, we're built on violence. You know, we're a very violent people, whether people like to admit it or not. And the women are the worst. They crack me up. Act like we're crazy and violent and angry. It's funny how like all these women though, they'll watch the crime channel or the serial killer channel like all the time, dude. And it's like, and you guys judge us? All right. Now this is an article from RT. I know we're supposed to hate the Russians. We're supposed to. That's what the mainstream tells us. They're our enemy, you know. And they might be, but I've always actually personally liked RT. There's a little article I found. Fouchee's institute funded deadly and unnecessary experiments on dogs. Animal Research Watchdog says. The institute, headed by Dr. Fouchee, President Joe Biden's chief medical advisor, has funded a study in which dozens of dogs were needlessly tormented. Advocacy group White Coat Waste, WCW, said, citing government documents. The National Institute of Allergy, NIAID, Allergy and Infectious Diseases, which Fauci has run since 1984, gave $424,455 to the University of Georgia to inject a group of beagles with experimental vaccines. I wonder what experimental vaccines they were. And then maybe genetic manipulation, mRNA. And then infest them with parasites. WCW reported last week, citing documents obtained from the government under a Freedom of Information Act request. The revelation has since attracted the attention of several conservative-leaning news outlets, including Daily Caller and The Federalist. Quote, Fauci's budget has ballooned to over $6 billion in taxpayer funding annually. Oh, that makes me so mad as an American, and that should make you so mad too, that we are working and paying taxes and it's going to this little tiny goblin man. I'm Dr. Fauci. I know everything, okay? So sickening. $6 billion. Alright, funding annually, at least half of which is being wasted on more questionable animal experimentation like these deadly and unnecessary beagle tests and other maximum pain experiments. So they're just, it's straight up torture and it's unnecessary is what they're saying. Whoa, sorry, I don't know if you all heard that, but somebody's wailing on a horn. No, that's the train going by. I do have a train near my house, sorry. Justin Goodman of WCW told the Daily Caller earlier this year. The WCW documented NIAID's pain experiments on a variety of animals. Emails obtained by WCW indicate that the study began in November 2020 and is scheduled to end in early 2022. So this should get you guys up in arms. I don't know if you guys need to make emails, make phone calls, but this is going to continue until 2022. Meaning people, we can stop this. I don't know if there needs to be protest. I don't know if there needs to be emails. I don't know if there needs to be letters. I don't know if you guys need to start your own channels. I don't know if you guys need to share this. I don't know if you guys need to post about this on Facebook or whatever. This needs to stop, dude. This is fucked up. And just think, if you've listened to this and you haven't done anything about it, that conscience, man, you could have done something about it instead of watching Netflix and chilling. You could have. All it takes is a couple minutes to write an email. All it takes is a couple minutes to, Write a letter. All it takes is a couple minutes to post something, to share something, to make a phone call. According to the documentation, some 28 beagles would be infected and euthanized after 196 days for blood collection and analysis. This means the dogs may have already been killed in June this year. The WCW has published a photo of one infested dog and a screenshot of an email mentioning how a group of animals was vocalizing in pain. So basically screaming after being injected with the second dose of the experimental vaccine. I wonder what vaccine this is, once again. The name of which was redacted. How convenient. According to the Daily Caller, however, the vaccine is called LF Guard and is intended to treat lymphatic filariasis, also known as elephantiasis. I've heard of elephantitis, but it's not that. A disease caused by parasitic worms that attack the lymphatic system, in which it has already been extensively tested on other animals such as mice, gerbils, and rhesus. Oh, bless me, Lord. Well, not Lord, because Lord is Baal. Bless me, creator of all. Sorry. So I'm guessing that would be like rhesus monkeys. So it's already been tested and already... This like they said, there's no use for this. Like, it's literally pointless unless you just like torturing animals, in which case you're a psychopath. And we already know this little goblin creature, Dr. F, is a little goblin. He's a little evil man. He's got Napoleon syndrome, I bet, and he's got small hands. So you know what that means. Small hands means small feet. Fouchee has become a polarizing figure, and the U.S. Democrats have extolled him as a heroic scientist who can do no wrong when it comes to COVID-19 or anything else. Meanwhile, some Republicans have blamed him for the contradictory positions on fighting the coronavirus. Now, I know this is RT, so they're a Russian news source. Two wings of the same bird. If you're Russian and listening to this, it's two wings of the same bird, man. Everybody thinks about Pizzagate and they think, it's all the Democrats are all pedos, you know. Look at the Franklin cover-up. Look into that. The Republicans are pedos too. They're all scumbags, dude. Right and left. As well as funding what they say was gain-of-function research at the Wuhan Institute of Virology in China. I'm glad I can finally talk about that without YouTube giving me a strike. Literally, we all were saying the Fauci was connected to Wuhan China lab, and every time you'd say it, they just remove your video and give you a strike. And now, after the mainstream media said it, now we're allowed to talk about that. Hey, YouTube, I know you're listening. Can I have my old channel back? Can you, take the strikes off of it? Because I got 2 out of 3 strikes on it, and I would like my old channel back with my 200-something followers. That would be kind of nice, you know. I'm not going to stop, by the way, YouTube. I'm going to double down. Which they claim may have produced the virus in the first place. Well, Dr. Peter Hotez, a professor of pediatrics and molecular virology at Baylor College of Medicine, has even proposed to extend federal hate crime protections for government-funded scientists currently targeted by far-right extremism. Are you fucking kidding me? Far-right extremism? No. You guys are torturing dogs, dude. You know, and that's one of the points I wanted to make. I'll make it at the end of this. I'm gonna tear into the left and the social justice movement, and I hope it pisses them off. And I hope they do. If they really believe in all that bullshit, I hope they fucking do something about this, and they should. In a paper published in the journal PLOS biology, he argues that it would shield them from political interference. Hotez accused, quote, a band of ultra-conservative members of the U.S. Congress and other public officials with far-right leanings of waging organized and seemingly well-coordinated attacks against prominent U.S. biological scientists. That's funny. How many scientists have been fired or medical license removed just for standing up against the whole COVID 1984 agenda that's been going on? How many careers have been ruined? How many scientists, how many doctors have been canceled and just their life ruined because they stood up against this bullcrap of a virus, by the way, that's never been identified? Okay. Fouchee in particular, and quoted Holocaust survivor and activist Eli Wiesel to argue that neutrality, or Eli Wiesel, I actually read a book by him. I didn't even know this motherfucker was still alive. Neutrality or silence favors the oppressor. But that's all she wrote on that. Now, this is the point that I wanted to make. I'm going to go on a little rant. Where is the left? Where are the animal activists? Where are the vegans? Where are the vegetarians? Where are they at? They need to be up in arms and protesting this. They need to be up in arms and writing people. They need to be up in arms and emailing people. They need to be up in arms and posting about this and sharing about this. I don't even care if they share this podcast. Just share the article, dude. And by the way, this is mainstream news in America too, by the way. I know I used RT, but Fox is, I know, the left. They hate the right so much that they couldn't probably share a Fox interview, article or segment. Puppies are out there getting tortured, but they hate the right so much that they could care less about the tortured puppies. This is fact, people. I know this is Conspiracy Corner podcast, but this is not conspiracy. This is fact. Where are the left? Where are the social justice warriors? Anyone who's listening to this who has a family member who is like super far left, super social justice warrior, do me a favor, and you don't have to share this podcast. You can if you want, but please share at least an article. It takes 2 seconds to Google it. And I used Google this time. I didn't even have to use DuckDuckGo. This is insane, people. These are animals. Harmless little creatures. It's like, what did they run out of little kids to torture? Now they gotta torture animals. And if you're a dog lover, where's the dog lovers at? I love dogs. I honestly, I have a cat because me and my wife work different shifts and they're easier to take care of, and I rent, so I didn't want to pay a deposit potty training a puppy, but I'm a dog person, dude. I love my cat to death, but I have severe depression, probably manic depression, or maybe possibly bipolar disorder. I don't fucking know what's wrong with me. But I'm a person who needs constant love and affection. And for me, dogs provide that, cats don't. And this isn't a cat or dog argument. I'm a dog person, but I own a cat. But I don't know, man. It just pisses me off, man. And you guys know me, I'm a freak in the sheets. I'm pro sodomy. I'm fucking whatever, dude. Do whatever you want in the bedroom as long as it's consenting people. But it always aggravated me, man, when people mess with kids and animals. And I've always said it as far as sex. As long as you ain't fucking a kid or an animal and everyone's consenting, do whatever the fuck you want. I ain't kink shaming. And that goes with nobody should be abusing one another. No one should be abusing other people. No one should especially be abusing children. And no one should be abusing animals, man. I don't know. I hope this pulled on someone's heartstring. And I will finish on a good note. I hope you guys share and like. Now, you're welcome to stay tuned if you want. If you don't want to, that's fine too. But the next segment is going to be one ghost story for you all. Kind of take your mind off that. I like to make a full podcast episode. I'm not really into making short videos anymore. I'm more into podcasting. So we'll finish the episode off with a ghost story. But before you leave, just know that are we are available for listening only audiences. If you're on YouTube, we're on Breaker, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, Spotify, Anchor, and BitChute. If you don't really watch but just sit down and listen, if you listen on any of those other platforms, we actually get paid a penny an episode. So we're up to $5. We're saving up for a splicer. We have 2 professional podcast microphones, but we do not have a splicer. So sadly, when me and my wife podcast together, it's hard to do. The audio doesn't come in well at all because we're both screaming into the same microphone. Pretty much sucks. But if you are listening on audio only and you want to check us out visually, we are on YouTube. Sometimes we're on BitChute. It's hard to download on there. And we are also on YouTube. It's Conspiracy Corner Podcast. The profile picture is a little white rabbit with a samurai sword. But yeah, we'll get on to the ghost story and finish on a good note. And if you're not going to stay tuned for that, God bless. I love you all. Please take action against this. Do something. It only takes one day off, man. Just spend 30 minutes on one day off and do something about this. All right. I'll be back. Now this is a story called Cries of a Dead Man. People around here used to tell old scary tales until bedtime. Wasn't anything else to do back in the early times here in southern Adair County, Kentucky, except sit around the stove or fireplace after supper and talk. People told stories about Indians, about the Civil War, about the old people in the family and the community who were already dead, about witches and about signs of death in the family. Most of all, though, they liked stories about ghosts. People called them hant tales back then. These hant tales were filled with different ways that ghosts made themselves known to people here in the world of the living. Dead children often visited their parents. Other dead family members sometimes came back to help their living relatives in one way or another. These spirits of the dead were often nothing more than ghostly lights or chilling breezes. At other times, the spirits of the dead came back as headless beings. They would just stand in the middle of the road to await the coming of a wagon filled with young people on their way to a party. Many times even the horses were scared of these road ghosts. Some stories tell about headless spirits who lived in graveyards. Seems as if they just waited for a horse and a rider to come by so they could hop on the back of the horse and wrap their bony arms around the rider's waist. Oh, I've heard them tell that story so many times. But let me tell you a hant tale about the groans of a dying man who burned to death in an awful fire. The story scared the dickens out of me every time I heard my grandmother tell it. The setting of the story was back years ago. It was so long ago, in fact, that people then didn't even have coal to oil their lamps. They had to use candles to have light around the house. You couldn't see a thing without candles, and not a whole lot with them. The candles made giant shadows on the walls. It was easy to imagine that ghosts and other scary things were in the room with you. Even the wealthy families lived like this. This one rich family in Adair County built a big fancy house with huge hanging crystal lamps that sparkled in the candlelight. They wanted all these fine things so they could have lots of parties and dances. One night, this family was having a big dance, a ball they called it, and all the well-to-do people were there from miles around. Well, along about 10 o'clock that night, they were all dancing and having a good time. Suddenly, a man burst through the front door. He yelled in a loud voice, "Have you all heard about that murder that took place just across the state line over in Tennessee?" Everybody stopped dancing the minute they heard him. One of the men called out to the fellow, "We've not heard anything. Tennessee is 40 miles from here. How do you think we would have heard? What happened anyway? Who was killed?" The fellow, somewhat calmed down by then, said, "Well, there was a pretty young girl murdered down there. The man who killed her got away, and they can't find him. They know who he was, but they can't locate him anywhere. The killer's hiding out somewhere, and the law officers think that he's in Kentucky, maybe even up here in Adair County, at this very moment." One of the ladies screamed out, "My God! No telling where he is. He might be right here in this house, ready to kill one of us." After a while, everyone settled down a bit. Some of the dancers got to joking about the whole matter, but it wasn't long until things began to get out of hand. The fellows began teasing the young women by asking what would they do if the killer showed up and asked one to dance. Finally, one of the fellows challenged the young women by saying, "The bravest girl here will take a candle and go upstairs and look under the bed to see if the killer's hiding there." The women were upset at the very thought. None of them wanted to do it. "Oh, no, no, no," they cried out. But Mr. Bell, which I find intriguing, it's always a Bell. Art Bell, the Bell family with the whole Bell Witch. I don't know, there's something in that bloodline. I truly believe that attracts, the paranormal. But Mr. Bell, the owner of the mansion, stepped forward with a lighted candle and handed it to his daughter. He said to her, "There never was a Bell yet who was afraid of anything. Now take that candle and go upstairs and look under the bed. If he's there, just call out, and we'll all come running up to capture him." She was shaking all over, and she took the candle from her father's hand and slowly went up the creaking stairs with trembling hands. She opened the door to her bedroom and stepped inside. Fear gripped her, and chill bumps stood up on her arms. She sensed someone else there in the room with her. When she got up enough courage to lift the covers and look under the bed, the killer lay there staring right back at her. She screamed aloud, dropped her candle, and fell to the floor in a faint. Just as soon as the other dancers heard the scream, they grabbed up as many candles as they could and headed upstairs to see what had happened. They found the girl there on the floor. They took her downstairs and bathed her face in cold water until she came to. Some of the men grabbed the killer and took him to the basement. There they tied him up with a rope. They decided they would turn him over to the law the next day. Everyone went back to dancing and making music. The party was still going strong well after midnight. In the excitement, no one knew that the girl had dropped her candle on the bed. While they danced, flames grew overhead. The dancers were having fun and making so much noise that they didn't even notice the house was on fire. First they knew of it, the ceiling was about to cave in on them. People began screaming and running from the burning building. The fire had already burned so much that it was impossible to save the house. No one thought of the killer tied up in the basement until it was too late to save him. As the crowd stood looking on in horror, the entire house caved in. They said that it was impossible to describe the moans and groans. and cries and screams that came from the fellow's lips as he died there in that fire. People always claimed that the way he died didn't matter. They said he would have been hanged on the gallows for killing that girl over in Tennessee. Either way, there was no escape for him. Now, that was a wood frame house that burned to the ground in the fire. The Bells were rich, so they replaced it with a fine brick home. Kind of reminds me of the Three Little Pigs. I don't know why. The straw house, the wood house, and then the brick house. Said it was one of the finest of its times, but wait till you hear the rest of the story. I always heard that every night, at about the same hour the man had burned to death in the basement of the old house, the Bell family could hear him moaning and groaning under their new house. Finally, the Bells couldn't take it any longer, so they sold the house and moved away. It was sold several times after that, as each new owner could also hear the ghostly moans and groans coming from the basement. Just why, I don't know, but the Christian people of the community went together and bought the old brick building and tore it down. Using the brick from the house, they built a new church on the same spot. Well, for one, they probably shouldn't have used the brick from the same house. Even that didn't stop the ghostly cries and screams. It was said that they could still hear the man under the church building groaning every night. Now that's the story of the ghostly moans and groans, and I reckon it was true from what I've always heard. Now, me and Sammy, we live in Kentucky, for all you new listeners. For all you regular listeners, you already know that. You guys know that we ghost hunt and stuff. We got ghost hunting videos on my old channel, which actually got cleared of all its strikes. So I might post videos on there, just videos that are on here but haven't been put on there. Yeah, so both of them do have a warning though. So this channel has a warning and the old channel has a warning, but I can start posting stuff on the old channel again. But the old channel's Abe Williams, the profile picture is a sideways dream catcher, and there's actually a folder, a playlist of all our ghost hunting adventures if you guys want to check it out. But that's all she wrote for today.
We are as a people inherently and historically opposed to secret society, opposed to secret oaths, opposed to secret proceedings, secret proceedings. No official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, would interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.